Hey, good morning on this beautiful Friday. I'm sure everybody has weathered the storm and watching the show. Today, we're going to talk about Black Families Matter. And I've got a guest host or a co host today, none other than Reverend Tammy Mitchell and she's going to tell you all about that. But first, we're going to take care of some housekeeping. So we're going to see you right after this break.
You opened a small business. That's a great way to have generational wealth. If you're a minority business, you may be struggling to keep your head above water. Why? In 2019, the Black community spent $1.5 trillion because the Black dollar lifespan, 28 days Asian communities, 19 days Jewish communities, 6 hours a month in the Black communities. Major brands target the Black media, TV, and radio. That's why Blacks are brand shoppers. That's why they get a big slice of that $1 trillion pie. Your business needs exposure. You got quotes from cable networks and local radio. They charge a lot of money for a little exposure. Networking and social media is a full-time job to get part-time money. Let's look at a successful Black business model. Remember Soul Train? It was a new Black TV show that Johnson Cosmetics increased the exposure of Afro Sheen and made billions of dollars for Bobby Johnson. Where are you gonna find a good show for a low price? We have a talk show called What You Got to Say. What You Got to Say is a Black-owned talk show streaming live on YouTube channels, Facebook Live. What You Got to Say has a diverse audience from 18 to 62 years old, and their gross income range from $32,000 to $122,000 a year. That exposure will get you a good slice of the $1.5 trillion. Tell us about your business. Maybe able to get on our Black-owned spotlight. In 4 weeks, your business can go from surviving to thriving. To find out how you can get what's yours, email sales@squiresignage.com. They're waiting to hear what you got to say.
All right, now during the pandemic, we have went crazy with the Black Lives Matter movement. We have made our voices known in politics, stating that the Black vote matters. One of the most important things that we have seemed to have forgotten is that, in us building back better and building back our country and building back our neighborhoods, we have to build back our families. There's been a lot of effects that we have been dealing with before the actual pandemic started. And we should be working on those issues that were swept aside to building back better. Let's take those issues, let's break those chains and bondages that have been holding us back. Let's free some people and let's get back to better. Today's topic, Black family lives matter, because it has been so impacted before the pandemic and even more during the pandemic. So now as we're coming after it, let's build back better. And I've got none other than hailing from Toms River, New Jersey. He is the pastor of Remnant AME, Reverend Tammy Mitchell.
Hello, I'm glad to be here this morning.
Oh,
Get into it.
Reverend Mitchell, let's talk about pre-pandemic Black families. Definitely under attack.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. What do you see that has, before the pandemic, have been under attack on the Black families?
Particularly, I think that the relationship between the Black man and the Black woman has been under attack.
Preach that, Reverend.
And between youth and guidance or leadership, meaning the parent and the child. Those two things have definitely been attacked majorly through social media, through education, where we're sending a message, or we're sending the message that whatever you want to do, you can do.
Okay, now before everybody starts calling in, because the number is there, and we do want to hear what you got to say. Let me make the statement. I don't have a misogynistic bone in my body. Okay, maybe I do. However, I'm a firm believer of this. If it wasn't for the black women, the black man would have been extinct in the 70s.
I
So
agree.
so we know, or looking at that, we know the biggest attack on the black family is removing the black man. Because if you're going to kill the snake, you have to cut the head.
The head off. That's right.
Right. And so now it's gotten to the point where, okay, the government, where people were on welfare, which majority were white people on welfare, they had the process and procedure that there were no men allowed in the house. Okay, so now where social workers who were predominantly white went into these white areas, the men in the house were considered uncle. They weren't the father. But in the black family, they would not even allow or give them that level in terms of saying, okay, or keeping a man in the house by saying he was the uncle. So it was already there. We have progressed from that point to, single parents and women with the sole belief of saying, I don't need no man. And so
I don't think it's that we felt we didn't need a man. I think what it was is we were trying to protect our hearts, just in case a man didn't stay. A man does need to be needed. I will give you that. He needs to be needed, and we do need them. However, we've learned to get along without them. Now, I'm not saying we're healthy. I'm not saying that's the right way to do it. I'm just saying it's what has occurred.
not having a man in the family should be the exception and not the norm.
I agree, but we're not in control of that. Men do take some responsibility for the choices that they make.
Oh, yeah, including the choices that they made in being with that woman.
Being with the woman isn't the problem, it's staying with the woman.
Yes, there you go. Yes, and or staying with that woman. So, all right, so now we've got the man out of the home. And then it started the stereotypical myth of Black fathers or Black men are not engaged in their children.
Well, most of the time, when a man makes children in different places, the government makes them pay child support. So they disappear. I don't think it had anything to do with whether they wanted to be in their child's life or not. I think it just meant that it was easier to not have to be required to do something more than just show up. So the government would make you show up financially. So they resisted and started disappearing, physically.
Well, let's see. Speaking on behalf of a man who pays child support, you don't disappear from your financial obligations. You don't. And I know a lot of men who have done that and they were caught. However, a lot of men do it out of revenge and hurt.
That's true.
Or yeah. Oh, you don't want me, then you don't want my money.
It impacts the children as well.
Right.
Bickering between the father and the mother, or the sperm donor and the baby carrier. That impacts the child because the child feels like they're not loved, when indeed the argument really has nothing to do with the child, it has everything to do with the relationship that was or was not.
Okay, so one of the things that men stay away is because, in terms of the Black family, they use the child as a pawn. The woman or the primary.
I don't think we use them as pawns. I think that they become okay. It's not just showing up. The issue is when you show up, what do you put in the child? So let's say, let's have a scenario here. You have your ex, and he shows up every once in a while, disrupting the structure of the household. He determines when he comes around what should and should not be for the moment that he is around.
What are you talking about? You pull up in your car, you blow the horn, and the child come out. How much disruption is that?
First of all, that's not how it works. You don't
No.
your child just doesn't run outside because you blow the horn. And most of these men, a lot of them don't even have vehicles to pull up in. So they usually pull up with someone else or in someone else's car. And those are all concerns for a single mother. Those are concerns when you're trying to put your household together and create structure for someone to come undisciplined and unstructured into your home because they're angry at you for putting them on child support, or angry at you because you wouldn't tolerate their nonsense and let them go.
Or let's look at the disruption that comes in when he doesn't have a vehicle. She want to know, is there another woman in that vehicle? Because my child will not be around another woman.
Well, first of all, you want to know who and what your children are around, what's going to impact them. Your ear ducts and your eye ducts are very important, and children are very impressionable. There is no way that you want your child around a situation that's not going to be permanent. So it's okay when it's the first woman, but when it's the fifth woman, you start to get a little restless in that I'm not jealous. This is why I didn't want you. But the reality is I don't want my kids to see this. That's not the kind of relationship I want them to think is correct.
Here's the trifling man reality. You know what? I'm going to get the most beautiful woman that I can find and put her in the car when I go pick up my child, because I know you're newsy behind going to look, and I want you to be jealous.
That's unfortunate, because now we're playing games with the lives of our children.
Yes.
And it's not right. Men do a lot of different things. Women do too. I mean, it's
like
not
women play games? No.
First of all, women are master manipulators. Men are only manipulators.
Okay, I'll definitely give you that one.
We don't want you to know you won't.
No, well, we don't. Well, there are a lot of things, and to be honest and talk about men, one of the things that actually leads to the separation is the simple fact of one who is basically trying to fulfill an obligation or duty or be a good parent, yet he is experiencing the constant master manipulation.
Most of the time, when you're in a relationship with a good man, and I will repeat, good man, you're not manipulating him. What you're trying to do is come alongside him, because a man is the head, but the woman is certainly the neck, and the head can't move without the neck. So our job is to usher him into the presence of God. Our job is to pray for him. Our job is to gird him up and to keep him on the right street. Sometimes men are impacted by the elements in their life that cause them to stray. We as women don't have any control over that. The only power and authority we have is to hope that we were evenly yoked when it started, and that we can continue to impress upon them the importance of living for Christ. If you view your relationship, marriage or otherwise, as something that God uses as a tool to cause other people to come to him, then you're much more beneficial and have much more of an opportunity to last.
Well, let's go with this. And to counter what you said, a good man realizes his job is to support. His job is to protect that family. His job is to lead, set a pace, set a standard to bring everyone in that household to a level of excellence. His job is to be a true man. And the true sign of that is that everything that he touches becomes better. It becomes stronger, it becomes faster, and it moves like a machine. And if he's doing anything less than that, then he can consider it a failure and consider retooling to make it better. Not because of the simple fact that it's failing that you quit or that you leave.
But most men don't consider anything that they're doing failing. They, like you say, they get out before it crumbles. And a lot of times they've set it in order to cause it to be that way. I don't want to blame the failing, the Black family failure just on men. But if men want to be leaders, they have to take the responsibility for their actions.
Men have to actually take the responsibility for their part in that unit down. No, hands down. And I'm going to sit up and look, all you men who are out there sending all the messages, listen to me. If the truth hurts, then it should. You have to. You can't sit up there and blame this woman for every failure that happened in that relationship because you have a part in it.
But listen, we don't want to discourage men that have already been beaten down. What we would like to do is encourage them and help them to understand that the Black woman desires to build with the Black man. And I would think that every nationality is the same way. It's not whether they're Black or white that really matters. It's just that our cultures are familiar and it's easier for us to cohabitate together. But the truth of the matter is we have to build each other. If we build each other up, we can grow together. So if you tear down the woman you're with or tear down yourself, it impacts the family. If someone else tears down the man I'm with or my family as a whole, it impacts the rest of our community. So the reality is we have to get serious and move beyond physical relationships, move beyond sex, move beyond just being with somebody that have a notch on our belt, but build together so that God could get glory out of family, because family ultimately builds the community of God. So go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't want to.
So if, in fact, we have the same goal in mind, if we are looking to edify God in all that we do and have the best here on earth, then we have to consider that this was God's plan and God's way. And we have to look at, okay, his way is one man, one womb man come together and we work through those issues, those isms, the things that are going on in life, and build each other, make each other strong, support one another, love one another in what we call sickness and in health, rich or for poor, till death do we part. But that seems to have gone out the window because now the world says you don't have to get married. You better live with that joker first.
Well, let me say two things. First, my first wife, when we got married, she said, "You remember when he said till death do us part?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, he was talking about you." But also I want to say this. Our church going through the reopening, Bethel AME in Morristown, where our co-chair, trustee, Brother Van Williams, excellent brother, went to his 80th birthday party where everybody said so many great things about him, but everybody nodded because everything that they said about him was true. What the most important thing about it is that when we were opening up the church, disinfecting, sterilizing, checking, making sure that everything was in place, and even bringing the church back better, taking care of some of the old things that we did not have the opportunity to do before we opened up. His wife was with him just about every step of the way, every day. And I mean, she was working just as hard with him. And I said to her, "Wow, you're working harder than, a lot of other members, and you're not even a trustee." She said, "I'm not doing it for the trustees. I'm doing it to save my man." And on that note, we're going to take a break. I'll be right back with Reverend Tammy Mitchell. Right after this break.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah.
Our often repeated prayers,
although we may be different,
yet similar,
as we reach out to our Creator,
we offer all praise.
And we seek forgiveness.
We ask for peace in our hearts, in our minds, and in our spirits. Amen. Amen.
Welcome back. I'm here with my co-host, Reverend Tammy Mitchell from Remnant AME Church in beautiful Toms River, New Jersey. So now, before we were talking about some of the issues that we had before COVID, one of the big issues, going back to that, is I see this. Not only have I ran into some women who said, I don't need a man, which you did say that, no, I wanted to protect my heart. But also run into some issues where I see the man-child in the family. And does that, I mean, listen, I don't know what's in the mind of a woman, nor do I pretend to know what's in the mind of a woman, nor do I want to know. Oh, okay, I want to know. In that situation, you know, you run into and you see so many matriarchal dominated societies where, you know, the women are, you know, they're out front, they're boisterous, they're leading, and the patriarch or the leader is subservient.
Well, let me first say that women only take the lead when it's necessary. If there is no patriarch there, we take the lead when we see things falling apart. And if you really go back to the Bible, I don't know if you remember this, but I'm sure you do. When Jesus was crucified, buried, and resurrected, the first person to carry the word was a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told her to go and tell the disciples what he had already told them. So I think he uses us women because we have some kind of strength that comes along with having that womb, where we're strong in the Lord and in the power of his might, and we're not easily swayed.
Not easily swayed, really?
We are not when it comes. Not when it comes to things of God. Once we've committed our relationship, that's the great thing about us. When we're committed, we're committed.
I'll take that commitment when it comes to things of God. However, not easily swayed. Let's see. I know some women, my wife, who can get a budget, yet exceed the budget because this was on sale.
Well, listen. See, that's wisdom. That's the thing that you hold on. You brought it up, so let me speak. Wisdom says that if in the budget this week, spaghetti sauce is on sale, you buy it in overabundance so that you don't have to buy it next week. That is wisdom. Think like this. God allowed us to see the value in certain things. I know for you men, you're thinking that's overspending. You don't need it. But we think for the future, not just for the moment. And you know, men, you're
Put that little measurement thing out now. Don't be going in. Don't be going in with the little thing.
Okay. I'm just saying, turn it around and realize that it's wise, because she could have bought it when it wasn't on sale, and that would really have hit your pocket.
Now, I can understand spaghetti on sale because we use in abundance, and yes, saving some coin. Yeah, but
not shoes.
No shoes. No Louboutin bag. No.
Well, I mean, I can pose an argument for that as well. When you're taking care of a wonderful woman who I'm sure holds her weight in gold, you want her to have some of the finer things in life. You want to treat her very well. And sometimes our men get a little busy, and they don't have the time to pay as much attention to us as they did.
Watch out now, Reverend. Watch out.
So we do it for them. We help them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is There's a pathological term for that explanation. You know what it's called?
What?
Excuse me, allergies.
All right. All I'm saying is I'm not cheating on my man. I'm not mad that he's so busy that he's not paying attention and adorning me. So I do it myself with his permission. He may not always understand or like it, but it keeps me engaged in our relationship rather than looking for someone else to do it for me.
No, well, I think that a man should. One of the most important things that a man should do is remember her always as the wife of his youth. Or not the fact that he married her when he was young, but the fact that when their love was young. That part is extremely important. The acknowledgement of things, which is one of the reasons why, I believe, Please explain to me why women are always changing things, like their hair.
Hold on.
But
Everything that a woman does, we do it based on necessity. If we're changing our hair, it's because it's either dry and brittle or that doesn't work for us anymore, or we're trying to keep things fresh and new. But we always have a reason for the things that we do.
yeah,
Trust
well,
me.
one of the biggest reasons I see is that it develops a level of acknowledgement and understanding. But what another thing that we have to look at in terms of that, I see some women who just have a difficulty in having a man who's leading, who's in charge, or even acknowledging the fact that he's in charge. Ain't a man in charge of me. You can't tell me what to do.
So let's talk about that, because a lot of the reaction that you get from women comes from prior issues. So if I never had a man leading me, if my father wasn't there, if there was no grandfather, no uncle, no brother that led me appropriately and did not take advantage of me, then I have a difficult time receiving leadership from someone else. The other reason that I would have a difficulty receiving leadership is if you lead publicly and act a fool privately. It's difficult for me to follow your leadership. There needs to be consistency in whatever it is a man is doing. And I feel like men find that hard to do. They're easily swayed. They look at everything that's going by. Their attention doesn't stay put. So when you're leading and you try to do too many things, or you lead me right into a brick wall, we have an issue. But I will say this on the positive. If my man is leading, my job is to gird him up with prayer, keep him covered, to pray for him and ask God to show him God's vision, God's way of handling things. The other thing is, if you're going to lead, you need to lead with God being the head of your life. No, I just speak for me. No man will lead me anywhere if God is not the head of his life. And I'm not talking about just in conversation or just in church on Sunday. I'm talking about a real relationship, authentic love between him and God, separate from me. If I see that, I would gladly follow. Be running behind him. Like, what you need, baby? What you want me to do? How can I?
Okay, so after the show, we're going to find out about Reverend Tammy's new book on this. But right now, let's. So okay, but there is a certain time where some women make it extremely difficult for their leader, their backbone, to lead.
I agree. We do, but it's not on purpose. I promise you. It's not on purpose. When we've been
accidentally on purpose. I mean,
listen. Depending on how you were reared, when you were coming up, things happen, and it causes you to have what God says we shouldn't have, and that is fear. So if we give the reign of our life over to someone, we want that person to really be invested in who we are. We want a relation. Every girl wants the princess relationship, and you really want to give over to a man and say, please lead me. But we've been through so much struggle. And I'm not saying just because I am a Black woman, but Black women in particular, we are, I believe, the strongest species there is. But because we've had to be so strong, it makes us have a difficulty softening up when something good does come our way. And that, my brother, is very far few and in between.
Well, it may be, but a Black woman who has been through the struggle, has been through the test of time, who has so much girded in so much armor that she is constantly fighting, and she comes home and she's continuing to fight because she has the issue of, I got baggage, I've got issues, and I can't trust you.
Well, that's not what happened.
Whoa, Tristan. Whoa.
I don't want to forget. I want to. That come home statement. If I come home and you playing video games and the garbage is not done, if I come home and you didn't do what you were supposed to do, if I come home and you just chillaxing on the couch somewhere and not working with me and causing me to have to work for you. Yes.
Yes,
That
you
baggage
can
is
come,
coming
you can
out.
come
That
home.
baggage is coming out.
But you could come home 15 minutes after I didn't. And he could have had one of the worst days, and all he wants is some mindless entertainment before he starts getting into that other responsibilities or whatever the case may be.
There needs to be.
No,
Then there needs to be a
Sister
discussion.
Tammy,
There needs to be.
Okay, don't make me mute you, okay? Now, because we have done this on the show. Now,
That's what men do.
As I was saying, when she has been through the struggle and he has been through the struggle, the worst thing that a man wants to do is to come home to another struggle.
I agree. I agree with you. I'm just telling you, if we could get more communication, we can better understand one another. She doesn't want him to come home to another struggle either. So let's respect both of them. Let's come home and maybe communicate, maybe share with me. Babe, give me a few minutes. Babe, give me, I was married.
Yeah, baby.
I was married. And my husband used to say, he said, I need about 45 minutes. That's what he said. And I can give him that. I give him his, but here's the deal. There were days when I gave him 45 minutes and then he wanted to be, well, you ain't say nothing to me. What you do? I was giving you your 45 minutes. It's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Communication is the key.
Now, see, that's part of the communication. When he comes in and he says, I want 45 minutes, you can give him that. But when he comes in, you could say, I'm giving you 45 minutes. See, now he knows.
I didn't want to put any pressure on in case he needed more or less. What I did was I allowed him. My point is, I allowed him to have space.
No, I would appreciate if I just came in and you said, honey, I'm gonna give you 45 minutes.
Well, okay, you would appreciate that. He did. He really didn't want 45 minutes. What he wanted was he wanted someone to acknowledge that he had had a rough day, and be in the kitchen cooking, pray for him, and then at the appropriate time, and sometimes that means communication is necessary, come and check in on him, see how he was doing. But that took maturity. That took time. That took a lot of love for me to start to understand him.
That he needed some peace. And because he needed peace doesn't mean that you are part of the problem. It just means that he needs to regroup, reframe, and get himself in a mode to treat you like the queen that you are. Just like in church, there's a level of preparation that we have to do for worship and praise and service. There's to bring us to that pinnacle of understanding and receiving the word. And a man has to have that time to prepare so that he can receive and so that he can also give. That's all. We're not being standoffish. We're not trying to put you off. We understand that you had some problems in your day. However, give me time to get my tools together to fix that which is wrong in your world. And on that note, we'll be back with Reverend Tammy Mitchell. 2 minutes. Be back.
Dr. Laura Lewis has over 15 years of experience in helping couples heal by building trust, cultivating intimacy, and enhancing communications. Her book, Marital Peace, is a valuable tool to support couples through the challenges of marriage. Her therapeutic approach is influenced by worldwide training in Brazil, Mexico, London, and Hades. Watch for her Fridays on Roku and YouTube. That's Couples Therapy with Dr. Laura Lewis.
Welcome back, and I'm with Reverend Tammy Mitchell from Remnant AME in beautiful Toms River, New Jersey, and we're talking about the Black family matters too. Now, before the break, we talked about the man needing some time and space, but also I find it important that a man gives his woman, his queen, time. One of the things that we implement in my house is her time, where this is her time. She has an allotted time, and whatever she wants me to do within that time, I'm hers. You know, foot rub, massage, dinner, music, take out the trash.
Yes.
It's her time. So because it gives her that time to realize that yes, she is appreciated and that she is important in my life. Yet, you know, I cannot stop all of the problems in our world, but I can at least take care of one important. But one of the things that we see now, or that was happening post pre-COVID, which is getting to be a huge problem now that we're coming into post-COVID, is that we're now getting to the point where when people were separated because of lockdown and having virtual relationships with women who have children, the big problem still exists of blending families. I mean, okay, so before COVID, blending families was a huge problem, especially for Black men, because what we found is that single women tend to codify their young Black men, their babies, their boys, and they codify them to the point where these boys, these young men are so undisciplined. Oh, okay. Nothing. What? Speechless? Reverend Tam? Hold on, let me check. Do I got you muted? Oh, my bad. You can talk. Go ahead.
Blended families is a world of emotion. The difficulty I find is that people throw out the order of family when it comes to blended families. So here's an example. If you were married before or you had children before you got in the current situation you're in, the order seems to be for a woman, her children, and then her new man. That's not biblical. I don't care how you had the children or what order you had them in. First is God, then your mate. So the same could be said true for a man that has children and meets a new woman and they try to blend that family. The children say stuff like, you ain't my mama, and things of that nature. Irregardless to whether she is or isn't their mother, she is in order before them in the family structure.
Oh,
we do. It is true. This is why, wait a minute, this is why God never intended for us to have relationships before marriage. When you did that, you start to change the order of family and structure, because now you got this child or that child, and then this child's father and this child's father. And I'll be transparent. I understand when someone comes in and says, okay, well, I had a baby with you before he had a baby with you, and I'm first. No, sir. No, sir. You're not. The order of family under God is God first, the spouse that you are with, and then your children, even if the children came before the spouse.
So, Reverend Tammy,
yes.
Let me get some clarification on the statement here.
It's rough.
You're saying that sister who had this baby who she loves and the relationship for whatever reason ended now is into a new relationship that her new man is in a level of priority over her child?
I am. And unfortunately,
oh Lord, hold on. Let's get ready. Call in, people. Call in. No.
Unfortunately, this is why having relationships out of order is devastating to the family. I don't begrudge anybody that had their child out of wedlock or anything like that. I think it's a wonder. We can argue, so many people kill their babies, some people keep their babies. None of that's important. What really is important is that ultimately God has a goal in mind. He's trying to use us to build up the kingdom of God. This is about kingdom building. And if you keep your eyes on the fact that God uses your life to call other people to him, and God uses your life in order to give an example to someone else, then you'll recognize that it is not about you and some of the dumb decisions that you make. We make these decisions to do things in the heat of a moment, and it costs us relationships, families, marriages, children in the long run. So if we don't have a structure to stand by, everything falls apart. So if you think that you had a baby by Jabubu over here, and then you marry Mike over here, and Mike came after Jabubu Jr., that now Mike has to let me do for Jabubu Jr. before I do for Mike, it's wrong. You don't need to be married. You don't want to be married because you don't understand the order and structure. Marriage, that structure puts things back together again. That's why you produce something. A husband and a wife together produce something. Even if it's not a physical child, they produce some kind of relationship that edifies God. You could go and read Hosea and Gomer. I mean, God will show you how his relationship with you and me is epitomized by the marriage, by the structure of family.
Reverend Tammy.
Yes, sir.
As eloquently as you put that, there's some sisters who can't even trust their man to get the right type of bread for dinner, let alone trust him leading her and her child by another relationship.
He should not be her man.
Ooh.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. This isn't about your physical.
No. Let me get the bus tracks off me. Okay, thank you.
It's not about that. Everything we do is about edifying God. Ultimately, yeah. I'm human too. I get it.
True. I agree.
I'm telling you what's right. I don't like everything that I'm telling you. Understand? But I definitely try to live everything that I'm telling you. God has to get the glory out of no matter what it is you're doing. If he can't get the glory out of your relationship, then there's no sense in you having it. Okay. So if you with a man that's weak and cannot lead you because he's insecure himself, and he has a problem with the fact that you already had kids before you met him, because things do happen, and that God is a forgiving God and he can't be forgiving, or maybe his baby mama don't like the new sister that came and says, if that emotion is all mixed into your relationship, then you need to end the relationship.
That means that this man, because he is now before your child, and now being, as you said, anointed to actually lead this child, to guide and direct this child, this man now has the ability to discipline this child. How many women do that?
Hold on. Okay, so now we moved into another arena. First of all, nobody should be disciplining anybody's children without marriage being the first thing. They should be married. There should be a communication and discussion between the families so that we can understand what type of discipline should take place. Because I imagine when you say discipline, you mean spank them or...
No. I'm not talking about draconian methods of disciplining a child, but
taking away... Standing in the corner, or having
no, you don't put a child in the corner. People call diapers on you for putting a child in the corner.
Whatever, or even taking away a gift that the biological parent gave them. Let's say the cell phone.
You can't take away my cell phone. My daddy brought this cell phone. You ain't buy this cell phone.
This is why there needs to be communication before you get married. The Bible says, in all you're getting, get what? Understanding. We need godly wisdom. I'm not saying that my husband or the person I'm with now should be in charge because I want to hurt you. I'm saying that we need to show the appropriate structure to our children so that they don't do what we did.
All right. And on that note, we're going to take a break. I've got Reverend Tammy Mitchell from Remnant AME Church in Toms River, New Jersey. And we're talking about the Black Family Matters. We want to do some healing. We want to get some inspiration and some instruction. We're going to break down some myths here, and we are going to build the Black family back better right after this break.
You opened a small business. That's a great way to have generational wealth. If you're a minority business, you may be struggling to keep your head above water. Why? In 2019, the Black community spent $1.5 trillion because the Black dollar lifespan, 28 days Asian communities, 19 days Jewish communities, 6 hours a month in the Black communities. Major brands target the Black media, TV, and radio. That's why Blacks are brand shoppers. That's why they get a big slice of that $1 trillion pie. Your business needs exposure. You got quotes from cable networks and local radio. They charge a lot of money for a little exposure. Networking and social media is a full-time job to get part-time money. Let's look at a successful Black business model. Remember Soul Train? It was a new Black TV show that Johnson Cosmetics increased the exposure of Afro Sheen and made billions of dollars for Bobby Johnson. Where are you going to find a good show for a low price? We have a talk show called What You Got to Say. What You Got to Say is a Black-owned talk show streaming live on YouTube channels, Facebook Live. What You Got to Say has a diverse audience from 18 to 62 years old, and their gross income range from $32,000 to $122,000 a year. That exposure will get you a good slice of the $1.5 trillion. Tell us about your business. Maybe able to get on our Black-owned spotlight. In 4 weeks, your business can go from surviving to thriving. To find out how you can get what's yours, email sales@squiresignage.com. They're waiting to hear what you got to say.
Okay, we're back. Some of the most incredible things happened during the break, and one day I'm gonna start recording this and just do the break show. Okay, one of the biggest downfalls of marriage, and this is all marriage, not just Black, is money, financing. Because we're not looking at the traditional or some of the lines in terms of the biblical traditional responsibilities have changed, or some people believe. Let's look at what the Bible says in terms of a woman working in the household. I mean, should a woman work? Should there be one income household? I mean, should this woman stay home and watch the children and while the husband provide for her? Or should she get out there and earn her money? What saith the Lord, Reverend Tammy? Okay, well.
Okay, let's start with back in Bible day. Back in the Bible day, you were married at about 12 or 13. So you did not, you didn't have the wherewithal.
We got lost against that today.
I'm just saying, you didn't have the wherewithal to develop your dreams and visions at that time. Everything was wrapped up in the marriage. That's why it was important who you married, for the family to continue to grow. Nowadays, we all want to develop ourselves first, find out who we are, come in line with oneself, and then we want to go and do God's thing and get married. And that's really what throws a monkey wrench in the whole thing, because when you mix a woman that has decided to stay home and don't maybe homeschool her kids or prepare dinner for her husband, mix her with the general population, and you'll find that she'll start to be a little envious or think she's missing something, or someone will tell her, girl, you're ancient, you're behind the times. So you have to make a decision of whether or not the person you're married to is equally yoked. I said this earlier. And the both of you have the same vision in mind. So I would stay home, and I'm considered a woman that's kind of strong in her thought process, but I would stay home if I knew my husband was supporting me.
Is that a nice way of saying stubborn?
I would, if my husband and I had the relationship that epitomized the relationship we have with God. So I trusted him, and I knew for sure that I would not be left if when he went to work and met the secretary and decided to divorce me. And because I didn't go to school or have an education or have my own career on the sideline while I was trying to raise kids and cook his food and keep his house clean, then we might have a little something there.
Okay, now I've heard some women pastors talk about the scripture in Proverbs, the woman of great price, or the virtuous woman, or depending on whichever interpretation or translation that you're reading. Now,
Yes.
This woman was an entrepreneur.
She was, but at home.
No.
I mean, she wasn't, it didn't interfere with what she did at home, is what I'm
She
saying.
had her own workers. She invested her own money.
But it didn't impede what she was doing with her family life. And that's the thing. There has to be a balance, but what I'm saying to you is the world has so many distractions, and this all goes back to what I said earlier about having a real relationship with God. You need God. You need him on a regular basis to guide you and to give you wisdom and to help you navigate what we're doing down here. And then you have to have a focus to never forget what it is God created you to do, and that's to give him glory and that you are his handiwork. If you're so busy with your job and doing the things of the home and not having time to really get back to praying for your husband, praying for your children, really holding the family together, and regardless of what his responsibility is, you still have your job to do. If something is going to negate that, then you might want to put that down.
Well, here's some of the things that negate that. The simple fact that, you know what? She spends too much money.
You said she's better and makes more money?
She spends too much money.
Well, that's that. Spending too much money is definitely the opinion of whoever.
The person whose money's being spent. Yeah. Yes, it is. But yeah, okay. Or as a woman would say, keep to keep.
I hear that more than I hear she's spending too much money. Because often when a woman is spending money, she's spending her own. There's very few times that a man is going to continue to let you spend his money without putting a stop to it or putting you on a budget. Okay. The truth of the matter is,
I'm looking for the lightning that's going to come for you.
Okay, I hope nothing comes and strikes you. I'm just saying that I can only use myself. One of the things that in my own, when I was married, one of the things that helped me was my husband was very, very understanding. Like he tried to understand who I was and why I did what I did. And when he was able to do that, he really came at me different. And the way that he came at me helped me to want to take the words that he said and his feelings into account when I made decisions. So I shop. I do like to shop, but I'm not a shopper that overspends. And when we have a budget, I stick to it. That wasn't the issue. But it was because I loved him and I respected him. He didn't try to make me do anything. He didn't try to make me feel bad about my desire to have things. He didn't do that. He tried to understand what was the need. Why did I feel like I needed these things? Even retail therapy. He was like, okay, well, it got to points where he said, oh, you're not going to the mall today? I'd be like, no.
It's 4:30.
I'm just saying, it got to the point where I had more than enough. And the reason I would do therapy was no longer there. He fulfilled some of those things. He fulfilled
that void. Yeah, understandable. So if a woman is in tune with, or if a man is in tune and a woman is in tune with her man, that void of spending money is therefore gone because she finds fulfillment in him, and he finds it
somewhat.
Okay.
The other thing is his vision. When he has a vision and he appropriately shares that vision, because if you come to your wife and say something like, babe, I would like for us to budget a little bit better because there are some things that I see in our future that need to be taken care of.
Yeah, like retirement.
Well, I would like for us to plan for this. Sometimes men don't share everything with us. So what happens is we fulfill the moment and not the future. Mm-hmm. So when my husband said to me, all right, see, listen, I think we might need to get let's say a townhouse, because where we were going to live was a little bit further out. We had some property and it was a little further out, and he said, I don't want you to have to spend all your time driving me back and forth, as we age, if one of us gets sick. So we want to have, save towards something that we can have a little something in town, so that we need to be there, we can. That made perfectly good sense to me. So I was thinking, wow, he's concerned about my wherewithal, that I don't have to, or he wouldn't have to drive us back. Like I saw what he was trying to do, and I liked it. So I bought into his, so I could buy into that
the vision and the plan, and you supported it by reducing your residency at the neighborhood mall.
I didn't have a residency there.
You probably had your own parking space, didn't you? You would go there anytime, and it was always open for you.
In my defense, there's a track in the mall, so I used to walk the track too. It wasn't always to shop.
Okay.
Was the thing.
Okay. So while you were walking in the track, you were plotting on phase 2 of no more exercise and now shopping. So,
no, it was never that.
No, never that. Okay. So yes, I agree. A man should communicate with his wife. And one of the most important things is understanding that, honey, if we are living longer, then we need to have enough finances to get us through the rest of our life, rather than the man sitting up there letting her spend all willy-nilly and having more a month of bills than he got money in the month. Now,
just remember that women are emotional, men are not. So we're moved by certain things.
Women emotional? No.
But listen, if we're moved by our emotions, a man, there's things that a man can do that will make you want to please him in every way. And one of those ways is not to do anything that would upset him. So if the finances are off kiltered, he will be hurt. And when you are in love with someone and you feel that they have your best interests at heart, you don't want to harm them. You don't want to you don't want to disappoint them. I never wanted to disappoint him. I never wanted to embarrass him. I never wanted to hurt him. But that was because of the relationship that we had. That communication, the love, he adored me, I adored him. And even if I was angry or upset with him or frustrated with something, I never wanted to embarrass him.
Okay. So, and I agree. I agree that my wife should love me that much. That disappointing me would be one of the worst things that can actually happen. But I also have to say that I love my wife that much, that because I am a representation of her as well. And every walk that I take and what I do, it does affect her as well. I mean, and believe me, I've had those conversations about some of my shows, but where she said, "Why did you say that?" but yet, after I explained it to her, she was okay in understanding it. But and I also believe this: a man can love one woman and look into her eyes and find everything, because in that love that he sees in her eyes, he finds nourishment for his soul and his development. That nourishment is what makes a man want to be a better man, just so that he can be worthy of this woman. That bride's price is always being paid, and they're always withdrawing from that bride's price, and which you are always constantly paying for that. But go ahead.
This is a wonderful thing.
I can't hear you.
So this is a wonderful thing when you find that kind of love, that kind of sacrifice, because that's what it is. Love is a sacrifice, and that person that sacrifices themselves for you. I think for me, you never think that you're going to have that more than once. You want it at least once in your life. And that's what all of us women are looking for. We're looking for the one that sacrifices for us so we can sacrifice for him. And having that builds such a bond that really alleviates a lot of the issues of marriage. But most of the time, our relationships are built on a physical relationship. You look at someone, you think that they're physically attractive, and then you indulge in some kind of relationship. And before you realize it, you look up and you recognize, and now it's too late because there's a soul tie, and that soul tie wrecks your life. And now you have problems in any other relationship that you have, and you forget that God tried to protect you and tried to love you and give you direction with his word to keep you from falling into these pits. And then we sit on a show like today and have to rebuild the community, rebuild the Black family, rebuild the Black woman, rebuild the Black man, and get back to basics. And the basics are simply God first. If you learn how to love him, then you'll learn how to love me. If you can't do that, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, let's see. We in our society today, we miss that period of courting, where that period of getting to know before you get to know. You know, we're in our society today, there is so much things where a woman gives you her most precious embrace.
Valuable thing.
Without even knowing your name.
I think if I could speak to that, it pains me that women are so hurt and so desperate for companionship and real love that we take a chance on whoever we come in contact with. Don't charge it to her heart that she is open for trying to find love. We desire someone to adore us and adorn us. And we think that if I give you my most valuable thing, that maybe that will get you to give me your heart. We haven't been taught. The church no longer has mothers and grandmothers that teach us to hide our gift, hold it close before we just trade it for a nobody. I think that women need more healing. We need more love. We need to get more in touch with who we are in God, aside from our identity in a marriage or a relationship. But that takes time. And a lot of us feel like we don't have that much time. So if I could, if nothing else today, if I could say, it is my desire to help heal, help to encourage and build up our sisters, not envying them, but loving on them for who they are and trying to help them see that God has a better way. He does. Even if it's longer and hurts and it's difficult, he does have a better way. The end result is real love.
And on that note, since you talked about time, our time is up. Let me say this in closing. Reverend Mitchell brought up some very important parts. In terms of building back better, one of the things that we have to look at is the scripture in the Bible. Physician, heal thyself. Heal yourself to the point for our women to know your worth and to know that what you have and what you give is precious, it's special, because you're the only person in the world that has it. And once you give away such a treasure for nothing, you have now devalued it. Build back better means coming back to understanding how important, how precious, and how valuable you are in the eyes of God. And if you see that in the eyes of God, then that projects into the man who sees you. For our men, building back better is building back stronger relationships, taking our rightful God-given place in our families, being the head, not the tail, being the leader, And to be the leader, you have to prove a lot of times that you are the leader to your woman. If it takes a little scuffling, I'm sure at some point, if she's the right woman for you, she comes around to understanding the leader that you are. Her job is to be your helpmate, not to be your leader. Her job is to fill in the gaps in where you are weak, not to use that to weaken you more. Her job is to encourage, increase, and help you grow, because the more you grow, the more she grows. I'm hoping that this show and this episode gives a great deal of healing. As we build back better through the COVID, we build back taking responsibility of ourselves, of our family, and of our children. I'm Vincent Squire. I want to thank you, Reverend Tammy Mitchell, for being my co-host today. And